the Commanders, Ron Rivera just got let go today. It was no surprise. There's been a lot of issues there. And there's actually a lot of videos. If you listen to the players from the Commanders, a lot of them said they appreciated what Ron Rivera did, but a lot of other players were saying the culture that was set there was not a winning culture. They actually said the standard and the structure was that no one really embodied what it was, what they wanted to go do, and that is to win the NFC East, get to the playoffs, be a Super Bowl contender. They haven't done that. But this is why the Commanders could be appealing to somebody. And we just know, correct me if I'm wrong, with my two reporters, with our Twitter reporter and our actual sport reporter, Anthony Weaver and Mike McDonald for the Ravens both were requested by the Commanders to be interviewed for the head coaching position. Is that correct?
Yes. And I think I will say, as much as I hate it, Anthony Weaver's the best possible candidate for the Commanders to get, I believe, because of the way, not only is he such a well-respected, former player, leader as a coach, but he has that, high standard. He's been the assistant coach for the Ravens for years, and he's always had that ability to lead these guys, and players just buy into everything he said. And I think that's the kind of hard reset the Commanders need in that organization and in that building. And so a guy like Anthony Weaver, while I think Mike McDonald, incredible and can be a great head coach, I think for that current situation, like you're saying, with Ron Rivera, there wasn't much of a standard. Guys are saying the culture wasn't the best, and you need a hard reset. And I think Anthony Weaver's the perfect guy that can come in there and really turn things around quickly, like a D'Amico Ryans.
Yeah.
I think personally that it would be a Bill Belichick that would be the best candidate for the Commanders, especially if Belichick is still looking to be a GM, because as we know, the GM is also a vacancy.
Remember that report, Brad? Remember the report earlier? It was he wants to go somewhere. I think it was Orlovsky put it out. Like he has already kind of penciled in somewhere has penciled in him to be the GM and the head coach coming in, according to that report. So, and
it makes sense, right? I mean, Belichick's from Atlanta or from Annapolis, and born and raised there, and so I think if he wants to kind of come home, so to speak, and get an opportunity to turn a franchise around, why not it be the Commanders? I actually put a poll up on here as well regarding this. I asked if Bill Belichick lands where next season. I put Commanders, Jets of all things, and I wanted to get in that conversation too. Chargers and Patriots. So Patriots still very much on the table. The majority so far are saying that he's just going to go back and coach for the Patriots. I'm not quite sure that's actually going to be a thing. Robert Kraft looked pissed yesterday while the Jets were making snow angels on the field. And so that being said, though, too, could Bill Belichick go back to the Jets after that whole debacle right before he went into the Patriots? We saw Aaron Rodgers and Bill talking quite a bit yesterday. Don't know what that means, if it means anything at all. Could just be them talking about their family. Who knows? But
I was going to say, it's just going to, Belichick, I was going to say, like, can you put up a poll of how many Maryland and Johns Hopkins lacrosse players would become Commanders players after that? Because that's all Bill's going to be kind of scouting in this area. He loves those guys. So it'd be funny, interesting to see.
Belichick is a huge lacrosse guy, by the way. The roots coming back, it kind of makes sense, and it would be a feel good. But people are going to look at is having Belichick control the GM spot, the roster construction plus the team. After what's happened in New England, is that something that people would be enticing to let him do again? And for the Commanders, this is why it's very exciting for someone to take over. Now, Bob Myers, who was the GM and the architect of the Golden State Warriors, and Rick Spielman, another general manager in the NFL, they are both now helping in the special advisory role for the Commanders to look for their next head coach and possible GM and all that stuff, right? So what makes what do you got, Brad?
I was just thinking about this. There's also some talk swirling around about Mike Vrabel no longer being with the Titans. And the Patriots have third pick. And they need a quarterback real bad. So can you imagine if, Belichick is no longer with the Patriots, Vrabel comes in, they draft, maybe it's Michael Penix, who knows, Bo Nix, somebody that goes there and
Well,
just
Jaden Daniels is another one. Jaden Daniels is a
Drake
name.
May. Let's put
Drake
Drake
May.
May.
I mean, the two consensus right now is probably everyone saying Caleb and Drake May. We still think Michael Penix Jr. deserves more credit. And by the way, Joe Burrow was drafted number 1 overall at 23, turning 24. That's the same exact situation that Michael Penix Jr.
Yeah,
will be.
24 when he's drafted. Not the same situation.
Yeah. Well, it's about the same. He's actually going to be 23 before he turns 24 in May. But if we're going to be technical about it, Jack has.
Is he older than you, Zach?
Yeah, he is, actually.
He is
older than me. So I got time.
You're young.
I could
Okay.
I'm
still
just
make
saying,
it.
I'm just saying that the Pats are in a good spot. You know,
Very
Belichick
good.
and Belichick. I think they're going to be in a good spot, especially as far as the draft is concerned.
I'd
And
love to see
it would
Vrabel
be-
go there.
Do you
Me
think
too.
that?
I
Do you
would
think
love
Brad
that.
Do you think Brad? That's why there's a chance they bring him back, or do you think it's too far gone?
No.
I think it's too far gone. But if there was a reason to bring him back, it would be because they had a high draft pick.
Okay.
You know, and honestly, the Pats' defense was good. It was just their offense that was atrocious.
They had a solid defense, and they were missing some key pieces.
My man Marcus Jones was out this year.
And
He
Matt
returned
Judon
it.
wasn't
He returned
100%.
it. Yep.
Yeah, so all of it adds up. But then, you know who has the pick 1 before them? The Patriots?
Commanders.
The Commanders.
Yep.
The Washington Commanders are the 2nd overall pick. So if you're a coach coming in there, it's a new ownership. You're going to have a new GM that's going to be paired with you. So hopefully there's a lot of continuity there, and that's the goal. You're going to have a little bit of flexibility around your team and the cap. But the bigger thing is there are assets on that team. I mean, we talked about the offense earlier, Zach, before we came on. I mean, Scary Terry is an unbelievable leader in that locker room. Brian Robinson proved that he can be a dynamic running back for them. And then on the defensive side, Jonathan Allen's still one of the best interior defensive players in the game. They have guys, even though they did trade away Chase Young and Montez Sweat. But it's a very interesting spot. It's just you buy into it. And I do feel bad for Ron Rivera in the sense of you just felt he was the right person to go in at the time that he did because they needed stability. It was all hell was breaking loose, and he brought enough stability. And if you hear stories about it, we'll bring it up a different time of just the character of Ron Rivera. I think he is really cool. I get a kind of touched by that type of shit, by the way. That there's one about Tress Way where Tress's family member had cancer, and Ron Rivera during the year called him every single night to talk to him and ask how he was doing, how his family was. Yeah. So those are bigger moments. So Ron Rivera has nothing to do with him as a person, but the reality is this team was stuck.
Yeah, I think he was brought in to, there was so much drama going on with the Dan Snyder. Are they selling the team? He had to be that veteran presence of, I'll get us through these horrible years. And it sucks that someone had to do the job. But, I don't think he was ever really going to go into Washington with an expectation of, we can win games. It was, okay, Dan Snyder was trying to get out of this, and they wanted to see, okay, you can go deal with the football team while we deal with this. And unfortunately, that now it's time for them to move on with new ownership.